Hello, you're welcome to What the Papers Are Saying. Many thanks for joining us for another edition where we look at the big stories for the week. We explore the various angles of particular stories that made headlines for the week. When we come back, I'll take you through those stories, and then we'll look at the matters arising from those stories. Do stay with us. So welcome back. I am Vivian Kai Loco. One of the big stories for the week was the speech and matters arising, and also an assessment of the president's 120 days in power. So let's see how that was captured. We'll start with the Ghanaian Times. They say beyond 120 days, focus on bringing relief to Ghanaians. Dr. Sakara. City Newsroom, youth need tools, not speeches. Minority slums, Mahama's digital agenda. And finally, on that story, Channel 1, 120 days, we have delivered on our promises. This is President Mahama speaking. Now, also this week, the president launched the Code of Conduct for his ministers and other appointees. Let's see what that really is and how that story was captured in the media. We'll start with Daily Graphic. They say failure to meet asset declaration deadline. Government appointees lose 3 months' salaries. Non-compliance by May 7 results in dismissal. City Newsroom, I will punish appointees who will flout code of conduct. President Mahama speaking. And finally, on Channel 1, appointees lose 3 months' pay over asset declaration breach. Now, still this week, the minority and some allies, they did some demonstration against the suspension of the Chief Justice. Let's look at what happened. The Chronicle says, Osahini yells, Judiciary is being intimidated as coalition of political parties bare teeth at Mahama. The Custodian, your officer assaulted me, Afenyo Markin petitions IGP. And then we'll take you to Channel 1. Afenyo Markin, Nanabi, other top NPP figures joined Save the Judiciary Double. And finally, on City Newsroom, MPP has no moral right to criticize removal process, Justice Atuguba. So those are some stories around that demonstrations, and of course, matters arising from that demonstration. We'll move away and we'll take you to the aviation industry, because earlier this week there was a launch of a task force to oversee Ghana's plans to have a national airline again. Let me take you to City Newsroom. They had that story. They say Transport Minister inaugurates task force to develop national airline plan. And then Channel 1 says 10-member task force inaugurated to develop national airline framework. We move away from that, and finally on Thursday, a new pope was announced following an election from the conclave. City Newsroom, Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost elected new pope. And then Channel 1, new pope must focus on church's core mission. Bishop Osei Bonsu speaking over there in reaction to the election of a new pope. So those are the big stories for the week. I'll take a quick break. When I come, I'll introduce my guests for today, and then we'll delve into the stories. Please don't go away.
In a world filled with challenges, we all need guidance, hope, and a lifeline to anchor us.
This is Lifeline, and I'm your host, Fred Crunchy Mensa.
From social issues, relationship challenges, and family matters, Lifeline is here to inspire, uplift, and guide you on your journey.
Where we give you support, where we hold your hand through the valley and through the thick and thins of life.
Join Bishop grass-fed crunchy mensa.
I welcome you especially to Lifeline.
Every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. right here on Channel 1 TV. Let's walk this path together, strengthen our faith, our families, and our lives. Lifeline, because every soul deserves a guiding light. Tune in to Lifeline on Channel 1 TV and let's grow together.
Welcome. It's Play to Aid.
Get ready for the game show where every play has a purpose. Welcome to Play to Aid, the only game show where your knowledge and skill don't just win you prizes, they help change lives.
What sport is considered the most popular in the world?
Every point you earn goes toward real-world support, from school supplies to health kits, clean water to emergency relief. Play smart, play big, play to aid. Catch all the action, the drama, and the heat.
Most commonly spoken language in Brazil.
Portuguese.
Play to Aid every Sunday at 3:30 p.m. only on Channel 1 TV.
Edna, let's begin.
The Play to Aid game show is proudly sponsored by Tang Palace, Giraffe Island, and VVIP.
So welcome back to what the papers are saying. Let me quickly introduce my guest for today. In the studio, I have Selim Adonu, who is here with us at Channel 1 TV, as well as City 97.3 FM. Selim, welcome.
Thank you, Vivian.
Then I also, thank you for coming. I also have Samuel Uyafe, Samuel Uyafe, also here with us at Channel 1 TV, as well as City 97.3 FM. Samuel,
hi,
welcome.
Vivian. Hi, Vivian.
You know, we have a new pope, so we have to mention
I agree.
Christian names properly.
I agree.
So Samuel.
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome. I hope your wife knows you are called Samuel.
Of course, she does.
Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for making time to join me to look at the big stories for the week. We'll start with the president chalking 120 days in government. He addressed the nation on Wednesday over some of the things he promised to do, what he's done so far, and others. I'll quickly bring you some excerpts from that speech. And also, we at Channel 1 TV also did a review of his 120 days in government, speaking to key people in certain sectors, including the economy, agriculture, trade, corruption, etc. So let's start with the president, and then we'll also look at some statements made from the forum with regards to his performance so far in government.
Is reviewing the Auditor General's report on the COVID-19 expenditures. After the review, the appropriate actions will be taken. The Sputnik V scandal is under investigation. The Minister for Finance has launched an inquiry into the collapse of indigenous banks and financial institutions. And make no mistakes, facts will be unearthed, culprits will be punished, and lessons will be learned. The Minister for Energy and Green Transition has commenced investigations into the PDS scandal. Deloitte and Touche is conducting an independent audit of the National Cathedral project. I expect their report by the end of this month. A number of officials have been invited and questioned concerning the 13th African Games. On April 30th, 2025, the Attorney General filed 11 charges against a former National Signals Bureau Director General and others for various offenses.
Once the revenue handles, some of the revenue handles were removed, right, he recognized that there was going to be a gap, and so he had to make up for the gap, and so he had to also look for a way to reduce his expenditure, at least in the interim, to send some signal that he's trying to carry out fiscal reforms, and that would bring confidence into the economy and affect many more macroeconomic variables in the economy. So I But I look at what is happening with the Treasury bill rate currently. It tells us that he has reduced his borrowing, or the government is reducing its borrowing domestically. Of course, we've been shut out of the external market, the ICM. We've been shut out of it. And so once the Treasury bill rate reduced drastically, it sends a signal that he's reducing his borrowing appetite. My only problem with that was that I thought it should have been done slowly.
Appointees of state do not take the issues around asset declaration seriously, even though we have an act that is supposed to do so. Again, we see the president, perhaps because of past experience again, take the issue of conflict of interest seriously. And this is captured, and it's so well captured in the conduct, the code of conduct.
So the last is irrigation is so key.
Amazing.
And I'm not saying that irrigation cannot feed us totally. Currently, as I talk, we have not up to 10% of our arable land that is under irrigation. And all the irrigation dams you have were all built by the late General Champo, and I salute him for that. No other government ever kept anything on irrigation. So that is an issue. So irrigation needs to be, and we're talking about not gargantuan, very difficult projects to manage, like tono irrigation. We're talking about small scales.
So that's Professor Canton, and in some videos we're bringing to you with respect to the president himself, his statements around 120 days in office, as well as some key stakeholders, their take on the president. Here in the studio, I have Sami Wiafi as well as Selim Adonu. Gentlemen, I will first of all give you a minute to give me your general impressions about the president's 120 days in office so far. Selim?
Well, I think 120 days in office. It used to be 100 days, and I think it's a period to signal your success or otherwise, and it gives an indication of what is to come. I think generally the president hasn't done badly at all. I think he's approached things with a sense of urgency. I think right from the outset he understood the mandate. He understood that expectation was high, and he didn't have a lot of time, or he doesn't have a lot of time. So I think he hit the ground running, appointing ministers here and there, promised to do so in 14 days. I think he did. And, you know, he's touched almost everything he said he was going to do. And for me, I thought that's quite impressive, and we can only hope that it continues that way. The momentum should be kept. They shouldn't rest on their house. They shouldn't be complacent, and he should keep his eyes open. It's when normally the first 120 days, everybody tries to do something, tries to keep up, you know. But it's when the first year comes to an end, etc., that we begin to see the real deal and stuff like that. Started well in my view. I think he should continue. Touch on almost everything he says he will touch on. I will go into the details.
So you give him what? Of over 10?
I think I'll give him 7.5 over 10.
Nice, I see. Good. All right. Somewhat real.
He's touched on almost, if not all, almost all the things that he said he was going to do in the first 120 days. As Salam said, we knew it was always 100 days, but 120 perhaps he wants to cover the first, quarter of the year, and that one gives him a better picture, a better understanding of how things, go. He's given an indication that he's in full control. He has a grip of, the situation in the country, and the number of things that he listed whilst in opposition. It means he had a vision on how he was going to solve these problems if he was given the opportunity to be president. And experience always helps. He's been there before. He's been in the system before, and so coming in wasn't something new really. And so he had all the time and all the experience to set things right. And so for the first 120 days, the number of things that he listed to Ghanaians being a social contract, he's achieved quite a number of them, which is really commendable. And we expect that complacency will not set in. The goodwill is still there. He appeals to the larger, Ghanaian, and hoping that he's the one who's going to change things in this country. And so he should maintain the goodwill. The decisions taken in the last 120 days have been welcomed by quite a number of Ghanaians, especially the removal of certain taxes. People are really happy about it. And so he should continue to build on this. People are happy. The expectation is that it will continue to the last 4 years, because he has only 4 years to serve. And the expectation is that he'll continue to do more things to mitigate the plight of Ghanaians, which the expectation is that that's what every government or every president is supposed to do. So if I'm to score him on a scale of 0 to 10, I'll give him 6. Okay. I'll give him, because there are some left to be done, which he said he would do in the last 120 days. But then ministers and government communicators have explained why these things are dragging. They need to go to parliament. It's a whole process and the rest. So until those ones are done, then I can give him a proper score. But then per what he's achieved so far, what is ongoing, and what is expected to be done, the rest remaining, I think I'll give him 6 over 10.
Okay. Some say that his appointees during the declaration of their assets was one of the first tests of how strong or how much hold he has on his appointees, and for some not to have been able to do what he directed them to do is the first step towards failure.
I disagree with those commentators who make those assertions, because I'm sure there's a period of time to declare your assets if you are given an appointment. There may be an exception, and I know that when there are these exceptions, the chief of staff is always told or notified why certain you can't meet those deadlines. So I believe, or I suspect, that these individuals had informed the chief of staff about it, the custodian of all these things. The chief of staff, I'm sure, has been informed about why some of these appointees did not meet the deadline. And he knows very well that some of them did not meet, came to give another or a last warning, if I want to put it that way. So I am sure that by now, all these appointees have declared their asset per the deadline that he gave. He's yet to inform us if all of them, have done that. But then the other difficulty is that it's always a challenge for a president to, punish an appointee publicly. You hold a press conference, and there's always a difficulty. And I'm
naming and shaming publicly.
There's always a difficulty, because if those things are done, there's always a dent on the administration, because these appointees are part of the administration. So the leaders may want to do this off camera and then get them to do the right things than coming out publicly. I'm not sure we've seen any president who publicly rebuked a minister or an appointee. I haven't seen so growing up and in my years of involvement in journalism. And so these things are done off camera, and I believe and I hope that the deadline that he gave, these appointees who are yet to declare their asset would have done it. And secondly, we do not know who these appointees are. So we can't really go and ask that.
But why shouldn't we know who they are? Why not? But I'm thinking, why not?
Yes, I mean, we would have wished to know, but like I think Sami made a point that these are your appointees. It's always difficult.
It's always difficult
to punish your appointees or to call them out, because the more you do that, it reflects you in a certain way. People may argue that if you do that, people will see you as serious. But you have a government, like Kufuor said some time back, that he will not tear down his government. There's always a delicate balance. So I think that we should rather commend him. Why so? Because I think he's trying to be transparent. We don't know what might have happened in the past, whether people took a longer time to do it or not. But now he could have decided to keep quiet on it. He could have decided to raise the matter at cabinet. We wouldn't have known that a certain number of you have not done it. Make sure by this date you do it. Maybe those who will not do it, or who would have defaulted, he could sack them. We wouldn't even know why he sacked them. But he decided to now come out and say, maybe this number of people have complied, but a few guys haven't complied, and I'm giving you 48 hours to do so. I think he's just trying to be transparent. The law really is that you should declare it before you take office. That is the law. So if we are to go by what the law is, then those people shouldn't have taken office in the first place.
Exactly.
So those I don't know how laborious the process is. And given how these appointments came immediately after vetting, just after vetting, swearing in, I don't know how laborious the declaration of asset process is. I don't know how long it takes to do so. And so until I know that, I cannot say much as in the time it would have taken them to do so vis-a-vis the how rapidly things went.
But shouldn't it be the case that immediately your party won, you start processes to
No, but you don't know.
declare-
You've not been appointed.
No, but
you don't know
you
you're
are
appointed.
in politics.
You know, at that time,
you have plans
at that time,
to,
you are focused. I think you are. I mean, the law is clear.
I'm fighting for a
At that time, you are
position.
focused on
Yes, you're fighting
lobbying.
on
No, you are focused on lobbying. You go and sit in somebody's house. You go and sit in somebody's house from dawn.
No,
till
but
evening, the
you
person will
can,
even come.
guys, fine, you can be disappointed, but if you are even disappointed, what do you lose in declaring?
The good thing about what he has done, stating it or mentioning it publicly, is that next time, if a new president comes and doesn't make such comments, we'll be asking, have your people declared?
Yeah.
You know, what's the status? As we do this, we deepen it.
Yeah.
Over time, we'll be calling for names, etc. So I think it may not be perfect, but I think it's little messes, right?
Okay.
Before, we wouldn't have heard anything. I mean, many years before, we wouldn't have heard anything. Government upon government, presidents upon president. Now he has decided to come out openly to make the point that some have done it, a few haven't done it. I'm giving you 48 hours. I think we should look at it in that context,
Okay.
and say that, yes, we want more, but not to necessarily condemn it, because I'm not sure what has been happening in the past. But he has decided to state it. He could have kept quiet. We wouldn't have known. And he would have done what he wanted to do. We wouldn't have known. But because he said it, that's why we are taking him on. We have to take him on because the Constitution says so. But we should also be mindful of the context.
Okay, some say that denying those who flouted the directive 3 months salary is not lawful. Is that the case?
Well, it's not lawful. It's lawful. I mean, what punishment is there for it? He has decided to punish them that way. I'm not sure there's any punishment prescribed for it. They say before you take office. The law says before you take office. So it means that if you've not declared, you don't take office. So they've taken the office already. So what happens? He should have known that they didn't declare, and so should not have allowed them to take office in the first place. But all of that has happened. And now he says that I'll punish you for this. And it's exactly some punishment. Again, let's contextualize it. How was it happening in the past? How was it dealt with? This is now, he could have done all of that without
But
the
I think
people
the
knowing.
difference with him, is the goodwill and people expecting him to do things differently and
Yes.
better than the past.
He could have kept quiet on it. And I'm not sure it would have
And
been.
it goes back to the old ways, which people want to depart from.
Yes, he could have kept quiet on it. The assumption will be that it's been done. So if it's been done, there's nothing old or new about that. If it's been done, it's been done.
No.
But he decided perhaps to change things, maybe to reset, I don't know, by talking about it. By talking about it, puts pressure on him. That's why I've been discussing it. It puts pressure on him, and it puts pressure on those people. So it's good for the governance of our country, the accountability, transparency. It's great. We need to push further. When they declare and they put it in an envelope, we need to know what it is.
Yeah.
That's the next leg of the discussion, or how we have to advance the argument. We need to know. If you put it in an envelope,
Nobody
and you
knows
somewhere,
what's in it,
nobody
yeah.
knows what it is. If nothing comes up,
There's
nobody
no
knows
point.
what is there. I mean, that should be the next stage of it. So I think it's gradual. Now we know that people who have not done it will forfeit this amount of money into a certain Mahama case, and then what happens from there? Next time, what happens? We need to know. And this gives us an opportunity, media, civil society, and political space watchers, to be asking the questions, to be asking the questions. And I'm sure that's how our democracy will grow.
Okay.
Well, I felt that the next leg of the conversation we should also look at is whether there's a prescribed punishment for those who do not declare or those who miss the deadline. For now, we do not know, or I do not know the full asset declaration law or bill or whatever, whether it prescribes any specific punishment as to people who flout it, as to those who delay or those who do not declare at all. That we do not know. I do not know.
So I read it, Article 286.
Okay.
As a person who holds a public office mentioned in the clause 5 of this article shall submit to the Auditor General a written declaration of all property or assets owned by or liabilities owed by him, whether directly or indirectly. A, within 3 months after the coming into effect of this constitution, so that part is spent, or before taking office, as the case may be. B, at the end of every 4 years, and C, at the end of his term of office. Failure to declare or knowingly making false declaration shall be a contravention of this Constitution and shall be dealt with in accordance with Article 287 of the Constitution. And 287 says, an allegation that a public officer has contravened or has not complied with a provision of the chapter shall be made to the Commissioner of Human Rights and Administrative Justice or to the Chief Justice, who shall, unless the person concerned makes a written admission of the contravention or non-compliance, cause the matter to be investigated. That's why the issue about Shraj has come up. If you hear the commentary, listen to the commentary, people were wondering why he would not refer this to Shraj, etc. So that's
so
the law.
Shraj takes it up and then decides, investigates, and then what? What happens, comes out of that?
May take such action as he considers appropriate in respect of the results of the investigation or admission. The commissioner will take such actions as he considers appropriate in respect of the results.
So in the event that Shraj should investigate and then
if Shraj recommends that
this person be fired or this one
yes, so this person be fired, yes.
Appropriate. What is appropriate?
Then also the president to act according to what Shraj has recommended.
That's a recommendation. But because it's a democracy, that's pressure on the president. So all of us will now see whether the president will follow what Shraj has said or the president will flout it. If he flouts it, there are political consequences. Opposition will have ammunition to say you don't even care about what bodies like Shraj say about your ministers or your officers or your appointees who flout the Constitution. So that's political pressure on him, and that will be great. That will improve our system. But yes, this is what Shraj is not referred to Shraj anyway. But I think it improves the discussion. Next time, I think it will be better. It may not be too late to refer to Shraj. Maybe he will do it. If he does it, we'll be happy because it will be entrenching the values and the tenets of democracy. But I don't think he will do it. I think the punishment is given. Indeed, Shraj could even come out and say that yes, they've not declared it. These were the reasons they give.
Yeah. They would investigate on their own.
We support, or our recommendation is in line with the punishment the president has given them, the matter closed.
Yeah.
Because Shraj, the commissioner will consider appropriate the sanction to give. So if Shraj, for example, says that sanction them, let them lose 3 months of their salary, and that's what has been done. That's fine. Just that have been coming from Shraj.
Yeah.
Shraj could say yes, their recommendation is in line with the actions taken by the president prior. And now it will be interesting. It will be nice. It will enrich our democracy and our governance system.
And before I end on this one, I feel one area we can also look at moving forward is that apart from, we are told that they've declared their asset, we should also know the content of the declaration they've made.
Yeah.
So if I'm an appointee, 2 cars, 2 homes, a piece of land here and there, at least the Ghanaian people should know that that is what I had when I was assuming this particular position. And then when I'm leaving, we should also find out if I've acquired more, is the same set of properties that I brought in is what I am leaving with. So if we want to really fight corruption, we should also look at this particular area where the declaration are made, but not put in an envelope and leaving with the Auditor General. And then we do not know what is in there. And then when the person is leaving, we don't know what the person has acquired in addition to what already exists. So I'm sure moving forward, we should also know the content of what they declare, as far as this whole asset declaration regime is concerned.
So what does the law say on that in terms of us, the public, seeing exactly what's
No, the law doesn't allow that now. So that's the next leg of the discussion. We have a constitution review committee working, and sometimes I get a bit concerned for Professor H.K. Prempeh and his team, because it does appear everything is
going their way now.
But that's the next leg of it, and that's what anti-corruption people have been championing. That was the point. You put it in an envelope, go give it to the Auditor General. Auditor General even cannot open it. It's when something happens that they think they have to investigate that they open it to see what you had and what you are living with now. So in certain places or at certain places, you may even publish it in the papers. It's public, so everybody knows what it is. But our system is not like that. There are cultural things to it. I think it was Nanado or somebody who promised this, but we understand there were cultural issues you know, there were cultural issues that came up later. And
cultural, as in our culture, you don't show what you have or what?
You not,
or
like,
it's wrong to come across
it's not
as
wrong.
a show off.
It's not wrong.
Some of these things are kept secret.
You know,
some of these things are kept secret.
So when you show, you lose it though.
There are cultural context to them. Now, all your family people know that.
You have a property, you have this amount of money in your bank account.
We have to get there at some point.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a radical. It should be a radical decision. So, you know, because if I have maybe I'm a private person going into maybe I've become a minister or something. All of a sudden, I have to put everything of mine out there.
But you know the consequences of going into public
what that
service.
also will mean is that could also stop
discourage people from taking appointments.
Who genuinely would have wanted to be in public office and are very competent, the state will need or the nation will need to shy away from that, because people don't want their stuff
out
in the public. Yeah.
So I think there should be a balance, but it is something advocacy should continue with, so that we get to a point where we are all agreed that this should be. But if you want to do that radically, you will have issues. You now have issues where, or instances where people will now be putting things in people's names. You know, will also have its own issues. But I mean, people always find a way around it. Let's use a gradualist approach in this, so we get the best results.
Okay.
Lifestyle audits and stuff like that are the things we need to push. If you were like, or maybe you're a minister, you're supposed to be paid this amount of money, but within this short space of time, this is how we see you, and we think that your salary or your conditions of service cannot support the lifestyle. We need to, and that's what, amongst other things, the OSP is supposed to be doing. We need to get serious with that. That's where really, I think, the meat is.
Okay. I have to take a quick break, gentlemen. When we come back, we'll look at the launch of the Code of Conduct for the President's appointees as well. And then we'll also look at the demonstration by the minority and some other parties over the suspension of the CG. And then there's a new pope. We'll quickly go into that as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Life is a celebration of moments. Big and small.
The sun is scorching, I'm feeling the heat.
With Piva Drink, every moment becomes a refreshing celebration. From the beach to your home, in every corner of your world, Piva Drink adds a burst of refreshment.
Give me Piva pop too, and tangerine.
Celebrate every moment with Piva Drink. Refreshment for every occasion. Piva Drink, a taste you will love.
P for Piva.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome. It's Play to Aid.
Get ready for the game show where every play has a purpose. Welcome to Play to Aid, the only game show where your knowledge and skill don't just win you prizes, they help change lives.
What sport is considered the most popular in the world?
Every point you earn goes toward real-world support, from school supplies to health kits, clean water to emergency relief. Play smart, play big, play to aid. Catch all the action, the drama, and the heat.
Most commonly spoken language in Brazil.
Portuguese.
Play to Aid every Sunday at 3:30 p.m. only on Channel 1 TV.
Edna, let's begin.
The Play to Aid game show is proudly sponsored by Tang Palace, Giraffe Island, and VVIP.
So welcome back to what the papers are saying. I am Vivian Kai, local in the studio. I have Samiri Afi as well as Salma Adoni. We're looking at the big stories for the week. We'll move to the launch of the Code of Conduct by the President for his appointees. He made some points around what he really expects of his appointees to do with regards to this Code of Conduct. Let's hear him quickly.
Travel. All official or unofficial travel outside Ghana must receive, and the word is prior approval, from the Chief of Staff's office. And after each official trip, a report must be submitted on the trip, and any impressed retired within 14 days after your return. Where government is footing the bill, the trip must be necessary, it must be budgeted for, and aligned with national priorities. Retroactive approvals will no longer be entertained. No political appointee under this administration is permitted to purchase state assets, whether land, vehicles, shares, or buildings, directly or indirectly. If you attempt to do so and you are found out, your appointment will be terminated. We are here to protect the national interest, not to help ourselves to the national purse. A portal will be created for the public to report suspected breaches with guarantees of confidentiality and impartial investigation.
So that's President Mahama on some of the contents of that code of conduct. I'll go with you first, Sami, because you was the presidential correspondent where Nana was in power, and some of the things Mahama has in that code of conduct book were some things that President Akufo-Addo tried to also push, but nothing really came out of it. It's not easy like it looks, is it?
It's not really easy, as I mentioned earlier, Vivian, because it's always a difficulty for a president to punish an appointee. There's always that difficulty there. It has to take a very strong, dedicated, and firm, really leader who can really do that. Because I remember in former President Akufo-Addo's era, there was a similar code of conduct for some of the appointees, including those who were at the Jubilee House. But we saw a number of them at the Jubilee House in court, misbehaving, but we didn't see any, proper action taken against them. I've read the document launched by President Mahama, fine document, 66 pages. Yeah, fine document. It gives details of the do's and don'ts. And if every public, official or appointee should go strictly according to what is in the document, I'm sure it will be very good for this country. But then again, it's just a code of conduct. It has no legal backing. I've heard, lawyers say that it would be nice if we have a legal backing to this, so it becomes a living document for successive presidents and successive governments. And if there's a need to even do some change, just amend portions of it, because as you speak that we do not have any. And so if you are such a document, it will then translate to a proper behavioral way for appointees. Because from what President Mahama is saying, he means well, but some of these appointees may not do exactly what is in there, and there may not be any punishment, for it. I heard the Attorney General and Minister of Justice after the launch say that he may be forced to, or he may not hesitate to prosecute any of his colleagues who may flout this, but
Can he do that legally?
No, but what would be the punishment for it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the Attorney General say so, but I don't know the full context of what he said, so I can't really comment on that. But these are just, before somebody will be, and what kind of, to prosecute means it's criminal. What was the punishment? Nothing of that nature is being stated. Before you can prosecute and convict somebody on a rule, on a law, it must be known, and the punishment for that, for flouting it, must be prescribed. It must be known by the person. So I'm not sure what the punishment for these.
So his explanation was that, if any of his colleagues go against the conduct, and maybe you are fired by the president, if that's the ultimate punishment for it, the AG's department may want to investigate what really made the president fire you, and if it involves some criminality in it, he may want to take it out.
Exactly. So now he explains it. So some of this code of conduct, some of the things in there, when you flout them, it may border on criminality. Even some conflict of interest situations, and a whole lot of things could border on criminality, etc. So I think the point, I didn't hear him, but from what you're saying, the point I think he's making is that if the president sacks you he may be interested in looking at it, given what specifically you have done. Yeah. And if there's some criminality in there, he will not hesitate to prosecute you. That's what the Attorney General will say. And so that's what he has to say. Yes, it's important we have a code of conduct. This is not law yet, or it's not law. So if you realize, he's just restricted it to his appointees. Yeah. Because these are the persons he has control over. And what can he do to them? He can suspend them. He can let them forfeit salaries. He can sack them. He can let them apologize openly. He can let them resign. So these are things which are within his executive authority given him by the Constitution, Article 58 or so. This is within what he can do, But so if you realize, it didn't cover Parliament or other places because he really has no control over those people. He can only deal with his appointees. And presidents sack, they fire and they do all of that. So the point he's making, I guess, is that if you flout it, you know that I will sack you, or based on the severity of it, you will resign, or this will happen to you. So I think it's a good starting point. Maybe as time goes on, we may have to back it to become a binding document on successive governments, etc. But really, from where Ghana is and where, if we don't take care, we will slide to, we need a code of conduct like this, and we must ensure or try to ensure that we follow it or we adhere to it. And a lot of that will come from the president, the early signals he will show in respect of this. And if he shows some good signal from the beginning, he will have to continue so that there will be fairness in the application of the sanctions across the board. That will give him a lot of plaudits, and that will make his appointees stand out and be careful. And that will separate or set his administration apart from the previous ones. So I think it will be in his interest to follow it, and that will be good for him. Okay.
We have to move on. We'll go to the demonstration by the minority against the suspension of the Chief Justice. Now, during that demonstration, there were some allegations of assault by the minority leader and vice president from the police as well. We'll quickly look at that video, which shows some, should I say, I want to choose my words carefully. So that's the video for the confrontation. I have a lawyer in the studio, so I have to be careful how I. So this is that supposed confrontation where we're told there was some assault between the minority leader and a police officer. So that's it in your video. We are told by the police that the minority leader has reported to them, that was yesterday, to assist with ongoing investigations. Remember that the Speaker of Parliament also earlier directed that the minority leader makes himself available for that investigation. So has that hit come yet? I'm not sure it has. Right, so this is the point where they were to submit the petition, so that's it. You see the minority leader throw his hand towards, quote-unquote, a peace officer. The minority leader subsequently released a statement saying that the police officer rather assaulted him. So investigations are ongoing. We'll see what comes out of it. So, gentlemen, I'll start with you, Sami, on this one. You've seen the video.
I've seen the video, Vivian.
This is the only video that we have. It appears most people didn't capture that throw of hand or whatever. So this is the only one from one particular angle. Yeah. So this is what we have to work with for now.
So per the narrative, out there, and from the story of opinion marking, we've not had a police officer speak yet. I think Constable Forsen, that's the name another opinion marking gave as being the name of this particular police officer. The few description, tall, fair, those descriptions that he gave. We've not heard his side of the story. All we know is the side of Honorable Opinion Marking, issuing a detailed statement as to whatever happened, and then following that with a petition to the IGP calling for an investigation into this matter and punishing this constable that he referred to in this particular matter. But then I may want to have an issue with the police officer and the other officers who were in front of Parliament when they were going to present a petition. Apenyumakin was the one leading the demonstration and a group of others. Now he gets to the premises of Parliament where his office is, and he's supposed to enter and present a petition, and the police officers there are preventing him from entering. And then you ask yourself, this is a minority leader, this is office. So if he's leading a demonstration and they are going to present a petition, what was the arrangement? Is it that the officers there do not know that he was the one leading it, or they didn't know it was Apenyumakin, or they didn't know it was the minority leader, or they were given an instruction not to allow anybody or none of the leaders of the demonstration to enter the premises of Parliament? Those questions, we are yet to find out the answers of it. But then again, what I know, and my reports from demonstrations, which I've followed quite a number of reporting, leaders are always given access. The leaders and some few people are always selected to go and present a petition to whoever is supposed to go in there. And the leader of the demonstration is always allowed in there. They are never prevented. It's only the supporters who are always prevented from joining the leaders. But when the leaders select a number of people they want to join them, present the petition, the police officers there or those people who are manning the entrance do not prevent them. But as to why the officers, they included the officer Forcing, was preventing Honorable Apenyumakin and the others, we do not know.
Couldn't it have been because they find it difficult to manage the others who also wanted to come into the area? Because it was pretty.
It was giddy, as you were saying. But Vivian, you know the leaders, and these are familiar faces. So in the video, you could see Anyagba, Apenyo, Justin Kodia, and the rest. And these are familiar faces, and they are leading demonstration. So it was just pretty obvious that you should allow them access in there to prevent whatever petition they want to present. When they got to the Jubilee House to prevent the deputy of Standogbe, it was a smooth one. The security guys, they realized they were the leaders, gave them access. I mean, Stan came out all right to meet them, but they were giving closer access to him to present the petition. It couldn't have been same in Parliament. So I'm wondering whether there was a miscommunication or misunderstanding, or it wasn't part of the plan to get into the premises of Parliament to present the petition to the Clerk of Parliament. I think we should hear the different sides of the story than hear the narrative from one side as we are having it now.
Salom.
Well, I think we need to investigate what the modalities were, what the protocols were. Often, anytime protesters are to present a petition to Parliament, usually they will let the masses stay far away and just pick a few leaders to go up there and then present a petition to minority leader, majority leader, who will come on the stairs and take it and say a few things and go. So this is particularly interesting because Apenyumakin himself should have been part of that decision making so that we know who will go and present a petition to who is minority leader. He needed to discuss that with his colleague, majority leader, Mahama Yariga. So I don't know what happened. If that did not come up in a discussion, then that's a failure on his part as minority leader who knows what to do and failed to do it. Number two, he also ought to have known that in demonstrating and coming to Parliament, all of you don't come. The practice is that the leaders will come and meet whoever they are to meet. I don't know which part of Parliament that happened, but if he was expecting that all of them that we were moving, because if you look at the picture, it was like a sea of people, and the police guys were trying to form a barricade. So if the thinking was that they were going to move beyond the barricade, then that's a problem. The failure on his part, because he's a leader of Parliament, is that they did not, as far as we know, clearly state how the presentation of the petition would be. If they did, I don't know, we didn't know. And by now, we should know. So you know, okay, 3 of us, we will bring the petition, we will present the petition to Speaker or whoever. 3 of us or the leaders will march forward and present the petition. That is being orderly. But you know, some of these things, if the idea is they want to have the headline. So some of these things keep them in the headline, etc. But he ought to have known better because he's been part of petition receiving.
Yeah, this is not new to him.
It's not new to him. So you are the one leading your colleagues now. How come you didn't do the right thing? Or is it that you agreed per the protocols that, okay, 5 of us, 10 of us, 15 of us as leaders will get up there to the stairs and present it to this person.
Yeah.
And the guys were preventing you from doing so.
Yeah.
Let us know if that was the issue, if that was the arrangement. For now, I've not heard any arrangement of that nature. And that is disappointing for me because he's a leader of the parliament, and he ought to have known better. Number 2, the assault or the throwing of a punch against a peace officer, that is wrong on all levels. MP, peace officer, police officer, beating him, no matter how you say it, it's not correct. If the peace officer beat you, which you didn't see, you don't beat. That's why when you are
so if the blow is coming, he has to stop the blow.
Was it stopping the blow?
I'm just saying because he gave some reasons that the guy was
punched him in the chest.
Yeah, punched him. So he also
destabilized him.
Yeah, so he also reacted. So that was a reflex.
It was funny for me.
If Charlie blow there, you don't know how you react to you.
We saw him. I don't know. But I don't think
the video we've seen is him punching or hitting the guy.
Yes.
Yeah. But we've not seen a video of the guy.
So he said he did so because the guy punched him and he was destabilized.
Yeah.
If you were destabilized, you could throw a punch like that. I mean,
a man with his back behind the wall. You supposed to
so the police officer punched you. We didn't see that one, right? Maybe the people there saw it. So
close to his heart.
Close to his heart.
Yes.
And he I think he lost breath or something.
Yes.
And we saw him
moment.
Arguing with the guy.
He felt a bit dizzy.
And in that state, he could throw a punch.
Yeah.
Guys,
but you know, in a man's worst state,
that he's back to the wall.
He said he was destabilized. Do you understand what somebody means to say you were destabilized?
No, Barcelona telling us that
we agree that in a man's worst state, anything to protect himself,
he will do.
Okay. Even on his dying bed.
No, so I'm saying that. So that was in self-defense.
It's not to say we are in support of what we are just saying.
I'm saying that it was just curious to me how the things happened. MP, police officer. It shouldn't have happened. And it should not happen.
Yeah.
What signal are we showing our young people? And the police officer, nobody knows him. Yeah. And you are the one people know. Here we are mentioning his name. That is a leader of the house. He's MP. Not just MP. Leader of the house, and he has enough ammunition to bring to book the police officer, if indeed what the police officer did, as he alleges, is true. He has enough ammunition. Now here we are, he has a platform, so he has released an elaborate statement. The police officer, have we heard from him? He cannot release a statement. So he's even disadvantaged. He cannot release a statement. It's the police that will talk for him, but the police will not just come and talk for him. They will do the things they are doing, that we are investigating. We have invited the people. You may not hear anything again. You understand? His side of the story really hasn't been heard by the public. But you have a platform. You've released a statement, and your party has supported you on that. Yeah. Again, you go to parliament, you have a platform. You can be on your feet and speak about it as long as you want to do. But that guy doesn't have it. And so I think we have to be careful. You see, if you are in public office, the responsibility on you is weightier than any other person. He's the one we know. He's the one we have named. The officer, I don't know if I see him on the street. I don't know him. But you, I know you. And is that the example you want to give? It's not correct. It's not correct.
Okay.
I empathize with him if indeed what he alleges was done to him happened. I empathize with him. You know, you take the lows with the highs. But if it is true, the police officer must be dealt with. But the response, I don't think, was parliamentary.
Okay. We have some good news, especially for Catholics. So there's a new Pope, Pope Leo XIV, a few hours ago. No, actually, this is like around 5-ish.
2 or 3.
Yes, so around 3 hours. A new Pope was presented to the world. This person has his descent is Spanish, French, and Italian, but is an American. And The US president obviously excited about that. We've seen quite a number of world leaders send their congratulatory messages to him as well. Salam, you're not Catholic, are you? A Presbyterian or Methodist?
No, I'm a charismatic.
Oh, okay.
I'm a charismatic.
Okay.
Even though I was born a Catholic.
Oh, you ran away.
I did not confirm. I did not take my first communion and all those ones. I didn't. But I'm a charismatic properly so now. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's good that the process didn't drag. A tradition of over 800 years. I mean, you know, we have a pope now. We can only pray that he does well. Pope Francis has been reputed as one of the most, should I say, effective and influential popes in recent history. And how he decided to side with the common people, the vulnerable and the poor, spoke volumes about his legacy, or speaks volumes about his legacy. I don't know what Pope Leo will come up with, but surely Pope Francis has left quite a huge mark and a huge pair of shoes for him. I wouldn't say he should follow exactly what he did. He has his own idiosyncrasies and his own uniqueness that he will bring to the table. But he should bear in mind that the person he is succeeding was someone who was loved by many. Indeed, he was called a people's pope. You saw him not discriminating, loving the vulnerable, people that a lot of people want to run away from, you know, kissing the feet of prisoners, etc. I mean, showing that even though I'm pope, I'm with you and stuff like that. Choosing not to sleep or live in the castle, but live in just a 2-bedroom apartment or so, you know, the sense of modesty. I'm not saying the next pope should do that, but the next pope should bear in mind that the one before him did things like that. And he should also be minded or advised on how far he can go. I think it's great. The Catholic Church, which is a big part of our world, you know, has a leader now, and we are happy about that.
All right.
It's great news. I went to a Catholic school, so I see some Catholic blood in me. So it's an exciting news.
Bishop Herman?
Bishop Herman, yeah. And I nearly became a mass server. Unfortunately, I had to run away from it. It's good news for the Catholic Church.
Why did you run away from it?
It's another story for another day. It's exciting news for the 1.4 billion Catholics across the world. At least they have a leader, someone to, you know, run the affairs of the church. I'm expecting him to continue with some of the reforms his predecessor, you know, has started, be able to speak, you know, to world leaders and the superpowers on things they believe is not right for the universe or for the world. And I'm expecting that he will do according to what God will direct him to do and bring the peace that we want in this universe. So I wish him all the best, and I was expecting that, you know, he'll do what is right. I wish him all the best.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Selam Adono and Samiria Fi, all here at Channel 1 TV, as well as City 97.3 FM. I am Vivian Kai Loko. Thank you too for joining us. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.